Welcome, Algebra 1 students. Glad to have your attention. Have homework problems to go over for you real quick. First problem from the homework was problem number 20. It was 8 minus 6 times 8 plus 6 equaling to 0. To solve this out, of course, you've got the product of two things, as we talked about last time. The only way you can get the product of two things to equal to 0 is if one or both of those values equal to 0. So you have to figure out what would make each one of these be 0. For the first one, you would have x minus 8 equals to 0, and then x plus 6 equals to 0. Again, taking both parentheses and setting them equal to 0. From there, solve out. You would get x equals to 8. Solve over here. X equals negative 6. So those would be your two solutions. Again, plugging in to the equation to check it. If you plug negative 6 in here, you'd have negative 6 plus 6, which is 0. And then 0 times no matter what this is right here would give you 0. Likewise, 8. If you plug in 8 to this equation right here, you would have 8 minus 8, which is 0. And then 0 times no matter what this is would give you 0 as well. Alright, since I hear no questions, we will keep going. Second problem was x plus 4 times x plus 7 equaling to 0. Just like the last problem, what we do is we set both of them equal to 0. So you have x plus 4 equal to 0 and x plus 7 equals to 0. Checking this out, this would be x equals negative 4, x equals negative 7. Now, I'm not going to go through the next several problems, but I will read the answers to you. Question number 22, the answers should have been 2 and 5. Question number 23, you would get 9 and 0. Again, order doesn't matter. You come up with 0 first and then 9 second. That does not matter. Finally, you have x equals 0 and x equals negative 25 for the next exam. Now, let's look at 25. 25 has an additional step in it. So we will look at it. So it's 2x plus 1 equals to 0, and then 3x minus 1 equals to 0. Setting both of them equal to 0, you would have 2x plus 1 equals 0, and then 3x minus 1 equals to 0. So next thing you would do is you would take the 1 and pull it over here. So that would mean that you would have 2x equals to negative 1. Then you would divide by 2. So you get x equals negative 1/2 for that value. Over here, add 1 to both sides. So you get 3x equals to positive 1. And then likewise, x would equal to positive 1/3. Looking at checking those. Again, I know a lot of you don't like fractions, but you'll see that they'll cancel out pretty quickly here. If you plug in negative 1/2 into this parentheses, you would have 2 times negative 1/2. Where the 2's would go away and play with the dinosaurs. So you'd just be left with negative 1 here. So negative 1 plus 1 would give you 0. Now, over here to 1/3, likewise. 3 times 1/3, the 3's would cancel out. You would be left with just the 1 there. And 1 minus 1 also equals 0. So 0 times whatever this is would give you 0. So it checks out. It's just an additional step in these problems. Now, the next problem's dealt with factoring. So looking at the final problems here, you have x squared plus 8x plus 15 equaling to 0. Now, what two things multiply together to give you 15, but if you add them, you get 8? Now, you can play around with a few things over there, but in the end, you see that it would be 5 and 3. So I'll end up with x plus 5 times x plus 3. And from that, x equals negative 5 and x equals negative 3. So that would be your solution there. Next example. X squared minus 2x minus 8 equals to 0. Two things that would multiply to give you negative 8, but add to give you negative 2. Well, 8's got several factors with it, but let's see what they would be. You would have negative 4 and 2. And automatically, I picked the right one. So I don't have to go any further. I don't have to try 8 and negative 1 or anything like that. So I have negative 4 and 2 added together would give me negative 2x. So x minus 4 and then x plus 2 equaling to 0. So I get x equals 4 and x equals negative 2.